Peregrine Falcon. Fastest animal on Earth. I say, oh, what's the fastest animal on Earth? And all the kids are like, cheetah. And I'm like, no, it's not a cheetah. Cheetah, that's fastest mammal on Earth. Fastest animal on Earth is Peregrine Falcon. Back to this pesticide called DDT. We used DDT, and we sprayed it all over our food. And the little mice and the insects and everything else that was on our crops ate that. And then birds of prey ate those little mice. And the chemicals that were in that pesticide was so bad that it weakened the eggshells in their eggs to the point where they would bust when they were sitting on their own eggs. In 1972, when they banned the use of DDT, there were no more peregrine falcons alive in most of the United States. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there was 1 or 2 pairs in California, but they were functionally extinct. And because of DDT, the pesticide. You know, I was one of those weird little kids. On my way home from school, we didn't have book bags, but we had bags. And whatever I found it might be woolly bear caterpillars today. It might be snake I caught in someone's shrubs. I was always catching something and bringing it home, and my mom hated to do laundry because she never knew what was going to crawl out of my clothes. But I would have remembered birds of prey because I was a kid that would have been sitting in the back seat without a seatbelt, and I would have seen turkey vultures. I would have seen red-tailed hawks. I would have seen them, I would have counted them, I would have obsessed about it. My second grade teacher wrote on my report card, Wes would do much better in school if he worried more about his studies and less about plants and animals. That teacher, and I'm a teacher, that teacher should have been feeding me books on plants and animals because I was reading everything I could get my talons on that had to do with plants and animals because I was obsessed with it. Anyway, Peregrine falcons, this is the male. This guy's got a long story. He was born on the Rachel Carson building in Harrisburg, PA. He was born on the Rachel Carson building, and they have a camera on that nest. It's huge. Thousands of people watch it. And they noticed that during a fluke spring storm, there was an egg sitting in the snow. And everyone started freaking out, and they were like, oh my God, and the decision was made that the 3 eggs that were underneath the hen was more important than the 1 egg that was sitting in the snow, and they decided to let it go because they didn't want to jeopardize all of them. Well, after about 8 hours of sitting in the snow, the hen saw it and said, oh, look, there's an egg. And she pulled it underneath her, and she hatched it. It was him. It was him. And everybody was like, oh, that's great. Well, baby falcon's growing up on a skyscraper. Life couldn't be better. He decides that he's going to jump off the building and go search for pigeons. And they eat over 300 different kinds of birds. Pigeons are their favorite. And he crashed 3 different times. And a really talented vet at Penn State figured out that he had a liver that's 1/3 the size of a normal liver. And that's how he came to me. And they think it's probably a birth defect from when he was laying in the snow. Every single bridge between Albany and New York City that crosses the Hudson has a nesting pair of peregrine falcons on it. DOT, Department of Transportation, love these guys because those bridges cost millions of dollars. And pigeons that love to live under those bridges have acid in their poo that eats the paint and the steel. They put platforms under those bridges because peregrine falcons don't poo where they eat, and they poop off the nest into the river, and no pigeon in their right mind is going to live on that bridge because they know it's going to be lunch. I used to say they do 240 miles an hour. A friend of mine just clocked one doing 270 miles an hour. Insane.
Yeah.
So, back to the story. A bunch of old falconers, and I love falconers. A bunch of old falconers said, we got to repropagate peregrine falcons. And this old falconer said, why don't we put some in New York City? Because these birds were $35,000, $40,000 a piece. And they were putting them out in the wild, and great horned owls were like, oh, look, lunch.
Yeah.
And they were eating them at night.
Right there.
And so this old guy said, why don't we put a couple of them in New York City? And everybody laughed, and they're like, what are you, high? And he said, no, let's think about it for a second. Tons of pigeons, tons of buildings, those buildings have the same pigeon problem, with pigeons pooping all over them, and it causing corrosion and millions of dollars worth of damage. And they started Peregrine Falcons in New York City. The world's largest population of Peregrine Falcons right now is in New York City. There's over 50 nesting pairs. And the people that own those buildings that cost tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, love them because they don't poop on the building. And no pigeon in its right mind would ever nest on that in 100 years because they know they're going to be food. They know they're going to be food. So I'm really fortunate to have this guy, and he came to me because of his liver. Funny story, the Peregrine Fund, it's a group of people that raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to restore